Jean, in Paris, what about the other point that Xu's making from Germany, which is that hardly anyone in the world has heard of this man, so he can't be deserving of a prize of this scale?
Well, it's very difficult to say that hardly anyone in the world has ever heard about Liu Xiaobo. First of all, as your correspondent said, many people won't go out and say that they know about Liu Xiaobo in front of a camera. But actually, for example, just the day of his trial, there were more than 100 petitioners who went to the place where his trial was taking place and tied yellow ribbons to show their solidarity with Liu Xiaobo. Many of the people who are part of the rights defense movement in China know who Liu Xiaobo is. Many people who have taken part in the 1989 pro-democracy movement, which involved hundreds of thousands of people in China, know about Liu Xiaobo. So it is very easy for when people say no one knows Liu Xiaobo, it only shows the extent to which censorship has been trying to blunt his name.
Well,
but,
I mean, John, with respect, I think your points are made about the situation in China, and as Zhirong Chen's been talking about all day on BBC World News, it's not being widely reported, this news about the Nobel Peace Prize. However, outside of China, it still appears that many of our viewers, listeners, users here at BBC News aren't aware of this man. I take your point about the censorship that occurs in China. Now, let's get a feel for how some people in Beijing feel about the announcement. Our team has been out on the streets.
I
don't know about the news. I just finished my work.
Liu
Xiaobo? No idea about the name. Sorry.
Our government has been carrying out reforms for more than 30 years. First reform should be on economy and then politics. We should go one step after another. We shouldn't follow the Soviet Union, which used the shock method and turned the country into a less powerful state.
I think China needs more freedom of speech, and we should have more freedom to express our own opinions and ideas.
The views of some people in Beijing. Let's put up an email here from Chaos in Huangzhou province in China. He or she emailed the BBC saying Liu's criticism, both of academics and Chinese political system, is direct but shallow. He's never presented any feasible way to get democracy and human rights. There are lots of Chinese dissidents, and Liu is not the most outstanding one. Jean, in Paris, what would be your response to that email?
Well, I think, of course, anyone can have his own opinion about the depth of the thought of a political thinker. And if your listener is saying that Liu Xiaobo didn't give a very precise blue book for the path to democracy in China, this is absolutely true. But this was also the case of Václav Havel. This was also the case of Desmond Tutu, who were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. What Liu Xiaobo has been doing is especially reaffirming the validity of a few basic principles, which I admit are not very original. The importance of basic human rights, the importance of freedom of expression, of association, and also the validity of separation of powers, the possibility for national minorities to express their cultural differences. And also, he has been writing in favor of the victims, the children who were employed in brick factories about 3 years ago, denouncing the scandal of child labor, all sorts of problems which are at the heart of Chinese society now. What is true is that the government has been quite successful in preventing his voice from reaching his compatriots, because all of his writings were prohibited on the Chinese internet websites and on the Chinese press.
And in terms of restrictions on this story, just quickly, Zhirong Chen, before we take a phone call from China, how has this been reported in the Chinese media?
Well, apart from the official foreign ministry statement, there is almost nothing. I read one report saying on China's most popular chat network, the QQ, the name Liu Xiaobo has been filtered. In other words, you cannot type his name and carry on the conversation there. So people learn about this award through Chinese official reaction rather than as a normal piece of breaking news.
Interesting how many people in China are choosing to email us or get in touch through Facebook rather than coming on the telephone or coming into our bureau in Beijing. Peter's Facebooked us. What motivates a man like this? Maybe he loves the attention. The real hero is the Chinese Communist Party for trying to bring the Chinese people out of poverty. Well, let's put that view to Isaac Mao, who's a Chinese blogger who's joining us live from Hong Kong. Hi, Isaac, do you think that the real hero here is the Chinese government for what it's doing for China's poor?
Yeah, I think it's a big news to Chinese internet users today because a lot of the internet users are now buzzing online about this news and try to tell their friends. And many of the bloggers and people are now gathering with their friends, although some of them were taken away by police. I think it's a big challenge to the China authority from the grassroots.
Isaac, we lost you for a moment, but you came back. Thank you very much indeed for that point of view. Let me see if I can pull up an email on the screen here from Peter in China. Can we do that? Let me see if I can bring that up from Facebook, because it raises an interesting point. Peter says, rash actions would only provoke reactionary responses from the Chinese government. Here we go. Foreign influences are perceived by the Chinese people as an incursion upon their sovereignty. Isaac, do you think that's true, that this could be a provocative action, or at least be seen as one?
Well, it's as strong as before, I mean, the statement, because most people know that the internet users are actually the driving force of the winning of Xiaobo this time, because many people are connecting the world, although the internet censorship is so fierce here. And more people are, I mean, the common people, not only the dissidents and activists, but also many common people are supporting Liu Xiaobo now. So that's something the China government has to be lever or consider. So I think the statement is very standout for mass, but it's somewhere not as strong as before. So I think maybe somewhere from a long-term view, it could be a positive thing to China's change. I mean, the winning of Xiaobo's prize.
Isaac Mao, thank you very much indeed for being with us. And if you're watching and thinking, well, I'd love to take part in World Have Your Say, how does it work? We're always live and you can always take part. So if you want to send us your phone number, or you'd like to send us your webcam details, or you think you're close to a BBC bureau, you're welcome to come on the programme any of those ways. You can get in touch with us through Twitter, through Facebook, and all of the details are at worldhaveyoursay.com. We're not just a TV show, we're also a website and a radio programme. So however you want to get involved, you are very welcome to do so.